Welcome in. Fitting that we start with a blunder, as the Minnesota Vikings did often today. I'm glad to be with you, even though it maybe isn't under the best of circumstances, but Tony and myself are here to try and guide you through this tough loss to Green Bay as the Vikings get blitzed 41-17 today by the Packers. And Tony, it's funny. I mentioned in our preview show with the Pack Only podcast that I thought that this team was going to lose this game, but I did not think it was going to be another Dallas game all over again, because that's basically what happened today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I know that I did not weigh in on that particular episode earlier this week, but had I been on that podcast, I would have also agreed with you. I was worried about this week. I was a little concerned about the matchup itself, obviously, with the Vikings defense being in the shape that it is. And look, I'm not saying the league is rigged here. All I'm saying is that it felt like all the stars and the moons were aligning in a way to basically present us with this winner take all to the playoffs Packers Lions game next week. So I never really got too high on my hopes for a Vikings win, to be quite honest with you. However, the blunders just felt like a comedy of errors today. So disappointed would be an astute word for me to use.
How much did the NFL pay the Vikings to look like they did today, or did the Vikings just pay themselves off? That's maybe the best question.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was rough. And and really to that point too, like really lending to the idea that I really don't think that the league is rigged. It was just all the errors, right? All of the
Yep.
unforced errors that seemed to happen. It felt like the indie game without the magic. It was like how we all felt at halftime in the indie game, except we just didn't rattle off 36 or 39 points.
Whatever Patrick Peterson, he didn't come up and say we needed 5 touchdowns, apparently.
Right.
So
Exactly.
he should have said it.
Where you at, me too?
It felt different, apparently. David, what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm a little disappointed. I have a lot of things to say about this game. It stings more because it's the Packers, and I don't know what happened. It seems like they fell apart like early in the game, and everything, just like Tony said, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Guys got hurt, and I think the thing that I do get about is you can't be halfway in and halfway out. If you are going to rest guys, then you rest guys. If you are going to play guys, then you play guys. This multiple thing at the end of the weeks where you're rotating guys and you're cutting down the snaps or whatever, kind of got a couple of guys hurt today, in my opinion. So
Yeah, and potentially the biggest injury of them all, Brian O'Neill, the right tackle for the Vikings, could very well be done for the season. We don't know that for sure yet, but it didn't sound good.
I know Slotman's done.
Yeah, Schlotman's probably done. And so Chris Reed came in and wasn't great, but I mean, that wasn't the problem. That wasn't why the Vikings lost either.
Right.
But hopefully Garrett Bradbury comes back for the playoffs at least. But
It's still weird to say.
yeah, it does. It does.
It's so weird.
Because Garrett Bradbury before this year has been so bad that it's like now it's just like, can we actually say that now?
Yeah.
It feels a little dirty.
But there hasn't been an update on Ryan O'Neal just yet.
What's that?
Yeah, we need to get Bradbury back.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be great having Oli Udoh go against Nick Bosa in a playoff game. That's for sure. But if we even get to that point, but
yeah.
So now
I don't know about you
Vikings are locked into the 3 seed. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know about you two, but I was channeling my inner Belichick after halftime, where I was just like, "We're on to Chicago. We're on to Chicago. Moving on to Chicago. How about how's the game going? Moving on to Chicago." My
Right.
wife would ask,
Well,
"Hey, how's the game
now,
going?" On to Chicago.
now if San Francisco wins, I think they won. Did they
They
win?
won. They won.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of late. I got
So the
fantasy
Vikings
going with
have
that
no
one.
reason to play starters next week, right?
No, none. They can't move
So
up or down.
yeah. So there should be no reason that they trot out Kirk Cousins, trot out Justin Jefferson. Obviously, the record is probably not going to happen now.
Mhm.
Even if you wanted to get the record, it's like, who cares?
You're forcing it now.
Who cares? Because you just want the team to be somewhat healthy, which it's not looking great right now for that. But yeah, a lot of people were talking about how bad the defense was today. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense we know has been bad all year, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the reason the Vikings lost this game today. Their offense was atrocious,
Horrible.
absolutely garbage.
Horrible.
Justin Jefferson, I love him. Think he's great. Could be one of the greatest receivers ever. But he played terribly today. He did. He
He
did, and he would be the first
yeah.
one to admit it. He would be the first one to admit it. But it's just the way it is, and the Vikings need to rest. Yeah, exactly, they need to rest those starters next week because they can't go any higher. They can't go any lower, and there's no reason to put those guys out there and get even more injured going
Right.
into playoffs. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and what a perfect time to really try to get healthy too, right? I mean, obviously, look, I'm like any other Viking fan right now. I'm not happy with today. Obviously, I would have liked to see us win. There's always a part of it too with the rivalry. Certainly, if you are following my Twitter today, somehow I got, roped into some interesting Twitter exchanges with some Green Bay Packer fans. We like to beat them. It is a fun rivalry, and it can get heated at times. But if we move past that, we move past the fact that this one stings a little bit, stings a little more because it's Green Bay. It is a good time to get healthy if we want to try to make at least a little bit of noise in the playoffs. Am I concerned with this team? Obviously, 1,000%. As you should be as a fan. This defense, oh boy, it needs work. But if we are going to try to make any sort of noise, we need to get healthy, and that starts next week.
Yeah.
And to Erica's point, 41 points, you think, oh boy, the defense must have played awful. Well, 14 of those points came via the special teams and defense of Green Bay.
Mhm.
And then not only that, but the Vikings went 3 and out how many times today, which has been another theme this year for this offense. And when your offense gives up those quick, short drives and your defense is on the field for 90% of the game, yeah, of course their other offense is going to score points. And that's exactly what happened. And they gave them short fields on the other turnovers that weren't taken back. So just a culmination of all of these things that led to Green Bay getting those 41 points. I don't think the defense played great, obviously, today, but compared to what they've played this season, I thought this was probably one of their better games defensively, honestly.
Yeah.
And it just feels bad to say that, but it was. But yeah, Erica coming in here with this. Yeah, Cook and Jefferson had bad games. Yep, drop passes. Everybody was blaming Hawkinson in that first half. It's like, come on, man. Nobody was playing good. Like,
Nobody
oh,
playing.
we just got to find somebody to be our scapegoat. Hawkinson. Yep, that's him.
That's
So
him, right?
I tweeted out on the 58-yarder by Crosby or whatever, 56-yarder by Crosby. I was like, yeah, well, too bad Hawkinson couldn't block that kick.
It's just weird. It's just weird, like how this game going. Multiple times we've been on the podcast. I've never really blamed Kevin O'Connell for his play calling, but I kind of feel the play calling today kind of put the game away early. That he went for
a lot of conservative.
Yeah, that 4th and 1 or whatever. I understand the conservative. I was explaining to my wife about the conservatives, going down when they're on the goal line. You got a third string center in there. You don't know what he's going to do. This is his first time actually
Yeah.
playing center in an actual real NFL game. This is in training camp where you can just say, let's go back to the spot and do it again. If he fumbles that snap or does something, crazy, you have to just run the ball at that point. Just on that too, I can kind of see the starters actually playing and a half tomorrow. Next week, because they need to get rhythm together. It's going to be a third string center in there. The only way he's going to get experience is if he plays.
Yeah,
So
maybe a quarter. I
a
wouldn't go
quarter,
a whole
yeah,
half. Maybe a quarter. Get a couple of good drives
they got to
in.
do something. They got to do
Yeah.
something.
I think, yeah, I think that all depends on the length in which Bradbury is going to be out, because it sounded to me that had he not gotten into that little fender bender that essentially retweaked the back,
It's just
that he probably
crazy.
would have been available, if not last week, this week. So it really just depends on if they do feel like Bradbury it will be back by playoff time. Because if he will be, then you kind of don't really need to worry about Kirk in the third string center, because
Yeah.
hopefully if you're resting Kirk, he's just not going to be out there at all next week, and then he'll be with Bradbury the following week. But I
Yep.
just I just think this team, what this team felt like today is it felt like we were a little bit outcoached. And some
A
of that
lot
is
out
just
coached.
Kevin O'Connell feeling his way through it. Obviously, he's a first year coach with the Vikings. I really have enjoyed him as a coach so far this
Yeah.
year, and I do think
Me too.
the future is bright with him. He should improve the more experience that he gets situationally and otherwise from his coordinators as well. But it definitely felt like today we got snake bit early with the injuries on the O line. They obviously game planned like every team we've faced for many weeks now, where they are having safety help with Jefferson over the top. They're going to take him away, and they're basically just going to see how else we can beat them. Well, we couldn't get the run game going because of said injuries and
Mm.
et cetera, other items. And then all of the underneath stuff that we typically like to go with, meaning to Hawkinson, Thielen, even. It seemed like they kind of had a game plan for that as well. So it just felt like we were a team that had a game plan that wasn't working, and then we just didn't have really any answer for how they were attacking us
Yeah, there
defensively.
wasn't much
So
adjustment.
it just felt I don't know. I mean, this is really a sad thing to say, but it never felt like the Vikings were ever in control in this game at
No.
all. I mean, I know, look
And
at
the
the
moment
score,
they
right?
were, the one moment they were, this is what I was going to bring up here quick, Tony. The moment they were was on that block punt.
Yeah.
In the first quarter.
Yeah.
They had control. It was like, oh, here we go. We're going to go score a touchdown. Nope.
Nope.
Field goal.
Yeah, and then you can't get a yard.
You
And I
can't.
mean, and that kind of
Yeah,
speaks
you
to the
can't
point
get a
of
yard for crying out loud. Like
it. Just
I,
speaks
I know
the
I know
idea
it's a
that
good
whatever
NFL
game
defense
plan.
on the other side, but man, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, but go ahead, Tony.
Well, whatever our game plan was, they had an answer for it, and the issue was we didn't have an answer for their answer. So it became a very lopsided game very quickly. Obviously, you add interceptions, miscues, missed tackles, the return, the kick return. Um, it just felt like all three phases. I mean, and again, I know that not to be a super negative Nancy about this whole thing, but statistically, yeah, I felt like the defense didn't have as bad of a day. But let's be honest, it's because Green Bay didn't have to push it. Now, if Green
Well,
Bay had
true.
to push it, would they have looked worse? I hate to say it, guys, but probably. Because I never felt like they were really struggling against us. They just had to milk time basically in the second half. So, and
Yeah.
even then, they were still over 300 yards worth of offense. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Love this team. I love the direction. I love the front office, the coaching staff. But there are a lot of holes to fill. We need to get healthy. And I heard. I'll say this, and then I'll let you guys talk. In a break between when Romo was undressing Aaron Rodgers with his eyes, he mentioned that Ed Donatel is this fantastic defensive coordinator, and I'm going like, really? So I just think schematically, again, I'm gonna say it, and we're getting close to the end of the year, so I can be really candid once we get into the offseason. I really dislike this scheme, our defensive scheme, and I get that hurt. It helps that we are getting burned so much, but I feel like why don't we do something different? Like it's like do the same thing over and over and over again and having the same result. It's like, what do you think's going to happen? And I
Mhm.
just feel like I saw a lot of off-ball coverage again today. It just you might as well throw the kitchen sink and start blitzing the heck out of these offensive lines because not blitzing them, you're getting torched. So you might as well just start throwing everybody at them. And if you get torched, guess what? Same result. So just try something different, fellas. Create some
Yep.
pressure.
So the Vikings, to my dad's point, there are locked into the number 3 seed. They can't go to the 4 seed because the Buccaneers are awful, and somehow yet they're in the playoffs. And the 49ers won, and they had the NFC
The conference record.
tiebreaker. Yeah, conference tiebreaker over the Vikings. So the 49ers and the Eagles are going to one of those two teams will be the 1 and the other will be the 2 seed. I would prefer, honestly, like I don't want either one to have the 1 seed, obviously, but if I had to make a case for one or the other, I would actually rather have San Francisco be the 1 seed. I would rather go play there than play Philadelphia because I just don't like going to play Philadelphia at Philadelphia for numerous reasons. I'm sure you could probably think of a few. But I think that that would be a lot better to go there. But again, who knows? This team, based on this performance this week and based on what the Giants did to the Colts, I mean, we saw the Vikings struggle with the Colts for a half, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So who knows? The Giants could come back in here in 2 weeks and make us look like the Packers did today.
It might be a blessing if you think about it. It might be a blessing that the Vikings dropped to the 3 seed and they are no longer the number 2, and allow the Vikings to actually rest next week.
Yeah.
Rest next week and let these other teams beat each other up and knock each other out. So the Giants are okay. I understand it took us a 61-yard field goal, whatever. It's okay. But I still feel like just looking at how the seedings will go, the 3 will play the 6, so they play the Giants. So then that next one will probably play, the 2 matchup, basically. So it might be a blessing in disguise for us. You never know.
Yep. So I want to get to something, David. You've been throwing these gems in our chats at times, and this
as long as people don't spill them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Another question that we are asking is Adam Thielen done? He did not look good today. He did not look like he could get separation, and I think you kind of have to keep him next year based on how much cap he's due. Like how much of a cap hit he has. Like he's got like 13 million in dead cap. You're not just going to let that go,
Yeah.
So maybe if you can extend him for another year and lower it, but maybe you just say restructure for a year. I don't know if you can even do that, but I'm ready. I loved Adam when he was in his prime, but it's just time to move on. We need more guys that can separate and just cannot separate like today. At least he didn't. I know earlier in the season, maybe there's been times when he did separate and they threw it to somebody else, but it just seems like he cannot separate anymore. As much as I hate to say it, it hurts to say that because he's been such a really reliable player for many years for the Vikings.
Yeah,
we've had our share of luck this season, but good grief, yeah.
I think when it concerns to Thielen is play calling also. I just feel like Thielen can't get down the field like he used to, and he probably can make those tough catches, but his worth is in the red zone. Like the other parts of the field is like he can't do it anymore, and it's tough. It's tough to say, but it's like, man, it's like, you're seeing one of your guys, your legends, deteriorate right in front of you, but they have to do something. They really need a a true legitimate number 2 receiver on the outside, because games like this, they're going to take Justin Jefferson away. They're going to mentally take him away, and you need another receiver that can go out there and get separation and make those plays. I mean, KJ Osborne looks like he can do it, but my only thing with KJ, how consistent can that be? Like,
Yep. And to Slumped's
Yeah.
point, it's who knows? The last time the Vikings lost a game badly, like they did to Dallas, they went on what, a 5-game win streak,
let's do it.
or they won 4 out of. Well, they did lose to Detroit too, but they
Yeah.
won quite a few games there. So who knows? Maybe they'll go on a win streak before they would have another bad game again. Apparently, I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's so hard sometimes with the team, as we all are probably aware of by now. But
I still believe in them, though.
You still believe in Adam Thielen?
I still believe in the Vikings, not Adam Thielen.
Okay. Good. Tony, what are you?
To be clear,
what are your thoughts on Adam Thielen? Have you seen him kind of slow down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I saw obviously the same things you guys did today. It just the lack of separation that he's able to get, and unfortunate means look, Thielen's never been a bird. He's never been had incredible speed, added speed. I think he's had sneaky speed, especially earlier in his career, a bit more of a strider, if you will. But it was always his route running and his footwork was always very, very good. And I feel like him just losing a little bit of the speed, and then in conjunction with the fact that I just don't think he's getting in and out of his breaks as quickly as he used to, which again just comes with age. I mean, we forget that this guy has been on this team before Teddy Bridgewater was drafted to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
I mean, he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's ending kind of the end of his career. But I was surprised to hear that, Carson. That was a good insight on your part about his dead cap hit next year. Otherwise, I would say without that, I would not be surprised to see him not in purple next year. And who knows? Maybe there's another team that's willing to take a chance on him. Boy, they'd be really playing with fire, trading Thielen. I know that so many fans of the Vikings and a big part of the fan base really loves Thielen, myself included, but I try to be a realist, separating the players from, just who I like from a personality standpoint and the future of the franchise. But maybe there's a team out there that's willing to give him a chance. The problem is he's not putting a lot on tape. I mean, his statistics this year are pretty poor. I'd have to look them up. So, we'll kind of see.
There's David.
We'll kind of see what happens that way.
Welcome back.
But
we still lost. But as my excellent friend and host this weekend, Sam, has said, only rainbows after rain. The sun will shine once again. He must be new here, right? No, but appreciate the Sandersons for hosting me this weekend, getting away for the new year and enjoying some time with friends. So it's been fun and quiet over there. He had to tease me. He had to say the 3 words that start with G, P, and G. So can't really say anything.
Did you lose me?
What? No, I think you're still here.
Did you lose me for a second, Carson?
Did you lose me?
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. You never know.
All right.
Nothing surprises me today.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, Slumped. Another thing on Adam Thielen, he has not had a 100-yard game since the middle of last season.
Wow.
That sounds like regression to me.
Yes.
So let's talk about this quick cap hit. I mentioned that cap hit. Yeah, it's so his cap hit actually next year, Tony, $19.9 million cap hit. and 13.5 million of that is dead cap. So I just wanted to make sure I was correct on that. But yeah, that's tough to move on from next year.
Not much you can do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I don't think another team's going to want to eat that either.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on, do you think this team can make any type of a run after watching this today? Do you think that there's still hope? Do you think there's still rainbow after the rain, as Sam said?
Yeah. I think they can
I think so.
make a run. They just have to get healthy. And just like I said, this loss today and the Niners getting the number 2 spot may be a blessing to where they really don't have to play anybody next week for anything. I just feel like if we really believe in KOC as an offensive mind, now is the time where you show us something different. Like you're getting guys back, from injury. You're getting Irv Smith back. Maybe he can take some of those loads and get some kind of separation. But it's all about health right now. Brian, like you said before, Brian O'Neill is the real scary one. It's scary. Like Oli Udoh cannot be out there. And why does Oli Udoh look like he plays in the 90s?
He's got the neck roll.
Yeah. I'm sitting there looking at it like, what is this guy doing? Is he trying to look tough because he can't block? Like what's going on there?
Oh man. Yeah.
But yeah, I still think
we can only hope that he's channeling his inner Todd Stussy or Randall McDaniel.
That's right. Jim Kleinsasser didn't actually have it, did he?
Yeah, he had a neck roll too.
He did?
No, I don't think
there you go.
Did he? He had the high pads.
All right, that's it. That's it. I gotta look it up.
Look it up.
But
yeah, Oli Udoh, man, come on, man. But they can make
Kleinsasser. No, just the high pads. Just the high pads. Yep. Erica says we have a chance as long as we have a plan B. We can't crumble when A. That's a good point. It's a good point. I think today A plan backfired and KOC and the Vikings could not come up with a plan B. Yeah. Jefferson wasn't available, and plan B, or I should say maybe plan B just was not as effective, and plan B got thwarted by some turnovers, obviously, as well. So, and missed kicks, which apparently Greg Joseph of old has returned. So,
well, to special teams.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you had the missed kick. You had the obviously return touchdown, or the return touchdown after the first field goal. It felt like, again, all 3 phases where everybody seemed to take a step back today.
Yeah. So David mentioned another question. He just comes up with these great questions in our chat. And David just said, what does somebody say to Justin Jefferson after you just throw a clunker together like this? Now, here's the thing, David. I think we've seen this before with Jefferson this season when he's had a few tough games or games when he's been as silent. I don't think he's maybe been as frustrated as he has been today.
Right.
But we've seen him come back and bounce back in other games this year. Maybe he won't next week because they might not play offense of starters next week, or any starters for that matter. I will say this. I don't think anybody veteran wise on defense should play next week. Zadarius Smith, no. Danielle Hunter, no. Patrick Peterson, no. Harrison Smith, no. Eric Kendricks, no. I don't think any of those guys should play next week. But anyways, to your question here, I think
did P2 get hurt?
Did he get hurt?
Because I noticed what was it, third quarter, when they were down, first and goal to go, that whole sequence where I can't remember who was the Tanyan touchdown. I didn't see Peterson out there, and they were clearly in not run deep, like they were playing the pass. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if he just came off for whatever reason. I mean, obviously the game was a little out of hand, but I don't know if you guys had heard anything. I didn't see anything. But
I think he just came out because they were rotating guys.
I think at the end they just pulled him because it was like, what's the point? But I would say, like you said in our chat here, David, I think he definitely does need a mentor.
Yeah.
I don't know if Adam Thielen's the right guy for that. I think maybe, Chris Carter. That's a good one. But I think even having an ear from Patrick Peterson, I know Patrick Peterson had made mention on his podcast back in week 2 after Darius Slay was able to basically shut down Jefferson in that week 2 game, and just said, you're given too many tells. You have too many tells of what you're going to do before the snap or right as you're getting off the line. And I think maybe Patrick Peterson can shed some things, or just maybe get in his ear and say, hey, it's okay. You don't need to get all bent out of shape. You don't need to get all frustrated. Just go out there, do your thing, be who you are. Don't let them push you around, which I felt like that was a little bit of the case today. Kind of maybe Jair getting in his head a little bit.
Mental game.
So I think maybe PP could help that, but I do like that Chris Carter or Larry Fitzgerald, who you just mentioned.
Yeah, and why I bring up that is because I saw. Do you guys remember the like '98 basketball finals, the Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz, where Dennis Rodman just literally mentally took Karl Malone out the game? I mean, Dennis Rodman's a Hall of Fame player, but offensively, he's what never was a Karl Malone, right? So he would just do crazy things, like he would fall on him, he would push him a little bit just to irritate him, just to get his mind out the game. I think Zaire Alexander knew that he couldn't really match up man for man with him, and the best thing for you to do is to take him mentally out the game, because he's trying too hard, he's pressing, and that's why I'm saying, like, the Vikings need to go get him a mentor, because I don't want him to turn into Adam Thielen after every play goes wrong. Because you know how Adam Thielen gets mad at every play goes wrong. He's going crazy. You need somebody with a superstar mentality to tell him, like, look, bring it in. This next play, get it together. It has to be another receiver, because we don't want to see the bad side of this. I don't, because I saw a couple of plays where he was out there jogging. I thought I saw Randy Moss out there for a little bit, and and I don't want to see that.
Yeah. As much as we all loved Randy Moss, we definitely know there was moments when he would take plays off, and we haven't seen that much from Jefferson throughout his career so far. Let's take a look at the schedule. Obviously, there's only one game left. The Chicago Bears next week, which the NFL I don't think has announced whether that'll be on Saturday or Sunday yet. But as you can see there, the Vikings now sitting at 13-3, or now 13-4, right?
12.
13-4. So
12-4.
12-4. Yeah,
12-4.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got to get my math right. I never was good at math. But they could end up 12-5 or 13-4, depending on what happens next week. But I'd like what you're saying there, David, about maybe trying to get some momentum next week. But I don't know how much momentum carries over week to week. I guess that's maybe more of a question for KOC or some of these players. But because I mean, we saw the Vikings basically put some clunkers behind them right away the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe momentum isn't that big of a deal leading into the next week, but at the same time, you kind of want these players. I get where your point is, where you just want them to get that taste out of their mouth as quickly as you can, So, but any other thoughts from this game, guys? I think we're getting close to wrapping this thing up. Any other questions you guys have in the comments? Go ahead and throw those in there. But it's. Again, I don't know if we ever want to see Tony Romo and Jim Nantz in a primetime 325 CBS game. It's not been good.
Awful.
It's been
I
some rough...
I don't know. I think that for me, it's really just look, and I know we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna have a nice little get together where we're gonna share some thoughts, maybe have a soda or two all together to cap off the season. It's been a really fun ride, of course. Everybody, Carson, David, um, but as we're nearing the end, we do need to start embracing the fact that this season has been such a fun ride. And
Yeah.
to dwell on the negatives, which I know we tend to do every week because we want this team to go places and we so desperately want to see the Vikings in the Super Bowl and to make a run. Um, I'm not throwing in the towel here. I'm just saying let's enjoy the fact that I think my prediction for this year was 11-6 was about my, I don't want to say my ceiling, but I felt pretty confident that like 10-7, 11-6 where we'd be at. And the fact that we're staring at potentially 12-4, and I'm pretty confident that if this game really mattered and we were playing all of our starters, that we would beat Chicago next week. We may lose to them, especially if we sit a host of starters, which is very possible. So even at 12-5. If you would have told me we're locking up the division weeks ago, I mean, this has been such a fun season already. And let's not just, dwell on all the negative things. We can do that in the off season and when they actually lose and there's no more Vikings football for a while. But I'm going to put this game behind us and and just be happy where we're at and be happy the fact that we can rest starters next week.
Yeah. It's it's either you rest your starters next week, or if you would have won today and still had a chance at the 1 seed, you would have rested them in 2 weeks. But it is what it is, and now you're going to have to go on the road and win some games, which it's not great to have to go on the road, as we've found out before, like today. But one other thing that David wanted to mention again is special teams, which actually started out really well, and then all of a sudden things got away from them a little bit on that kick return, and then Nixon had a couple of returns actually. So any thoughts? Any last thoughts on the special teams before we head on out here, gentlemen? I think there's always going to be a few clunker games in there. I don't think you can expect special teams to be perfect every week, and I think they were really good last week. But yeah, I mean, you want it to be better than what it was today in the playoffs. You need it to be better, especially if your offense plays like this. And we know how bad the defense has been at times this year. So, but yeah, I agree overall with your premise, Tony. It's been a better season than most of us have thought, which is great. But again, we're disappointed because we thought, okay, well, maybe even then there could be a hope here that they could go all the way. But now that hope seems to be fading a little bit again. But it seems like every time we've started to doubt this team, then they start to turn things back on again. So who knows? Who knows? But
Well,
any
I'm very
thoughts on
open to be
special
proven
teams?
wrong.
What do you say?
Oh, I'm very open for them to prove me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a great season. I can't say it wasn't that bad. I expected them to win, 10 games, and they already passed that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I thought 10-7, and I thought a first round loss. I could still be right on that. Hopefully not. But I think I said one and done. I thought they'd win one playoff game and be done, which again, I'd be, obviously the goal is to win the whole thing. So that would still be disappointing. But I mean, based on what I thought would happen the first year for KOC, I wouldn't be all that disappointed. Any final statements, gentlemen, before we wrap this thing up? I think my final statement is, again, wash this thing down, flush it, and move on, because that's how this league is.
Mhm.
24-hour rule, get over it, but don't get over it in the sense of you're going to just forget it ever happened.
Right.
Look at the things that went wrong and how you can get better off of those things so they don't happen again. That's the thing. Like, you can't just forget about what happened. Remember what happened so then you don't let it happen again. That's the hope anyway. But we'll have to wait and see. I guess that's my final statement. Hopefully they can somehow once again get the momentum back that they had the last several weeks. So, David, any final statement from you?
My final statement is I believe in KOC and I think he can make an adjustment. And I really want to see what he's going to do, because now the games actually really, really count now. And I think today he lost his coach of the year. Today he lost that.
Yeah,
I think that goes to Shanahan in Frisco. He should get coach of the year. But
I think so.
yeah, three quarterbacks. You never see that happening. But as for the Vikings, I just feel like you just got to make adjustments. You can't be so one dimensional. And I'm kind of agreeing with you guys too. My guy Cook might be cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things done, but I'm gonna stay optimistic and hope for the best. It only counts as one, not 41.
That's right. That's right. All right. What do you got for your final statement, Tony?
Well, I've already kind of given mine, but all I'll say is, don't at me on Twitter. No, it's been,
We'll just
Yeah,
remember that Jair video never happened, right?
that's right. It never happened. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you know what? It is always fun going back and forth with these Packer fans. And like I said, the rivalry it's all in good fun. But just be prepared, all of you Vikings fans, that they prove that we're frauds, and apparently the Packers this year will be the best 8-8 team that's ever graced the face of the earth. I'm sure that's what we'll hear all week long.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
just be prepared for
And
that.
then the Lions will beat them next week.
Rodgers might even win MVP all of a sudden, just because he came back from he's an 8-8 team and he came back. It's never been done before. Like,
yeah, they came.
I really hope Detroit wins next week for many reasons.
Yeah, they came.
I don't think it'll happen.
All their woes. Yeah,
but
it'll be fine. I'm looking forward to next week. Even if we sit a bunch of starters, which I'm sure we probably will, we're gonna move on. We're gonna look towards the playoffs. I mean, let's just be happy about that, fellas. Think about this: we just have to worry about the playoffs right now. That's it, and we get Vikings playoff football, which is not guaranteed. So, Skol Vikes, I'm excited.
Right.
There we go.
Go Vikes, guys.
There we go. All right. It's hard to say it, but as always, appreciate everybody. First of all, Happy New Year as well. Hopefully, the new year will see more of the old Vikings and not more of what happened today. And as always, Skol.
I'm going to go play PS5 with the Vikings.
Yeah, get it out of our systems, right? There you go. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy New Year. We'll see you next week.